In a small seaside town where old wooden shutters rattled at night in the wind and the streets smelled of salt, warm bread, and wild rose hips blooming along the fences, Anna lived. She worked as a photographer for the local newspaper and had grown used to seeing the world through a viewfinder. Other people's weddings, other people's tears, other people's smiles. She herself had long ago stopped believing that anyone could ever truly see her, the real her, without masks and without the safe distance of a lens. That day the editor sent her to shoot a story about the abandoned lighthouse on the Cape. The lighthouse had not worked for years, yet the locals still called it the Watcher, as if it still kept vigil over someone. Rain fell in heavy sheets. Soaked to the skin, Anna climbed the spiral staircase to take a few shots from the lantern deck. A gust of wind slammed the iron door wide open. She barely caught the railing in time. There, beneath the rusted dome, stood a girl in a cream-lace dress that looked utterly wrong in the damp and cold. The dress was vintage, with delicate short-lace sleeves, as though it had been sewn for a wedding that happened long ago. The girl pressed her back to the wall, eyes closed, crying quietly. Tears mingled with raindrops on her cheeks. Her dark, slightly wavy hair clung to her face. Anna froze. She wanted to slip away without disturbing someone else's sorrow, but the old plank beneath her foot creaked. The girl flinched and opened her eyes, large, the color of the sea after a storm. "Sorry," Anna said quickly, raising her hands as if caught in the act. "I didn't mean to intrude. I'm just here for photographs." The girl wiped her face with the back of her hand and managed a faint, weary smile. "It's all right. No one ever comes here, except those who have nowhere else to go." Her voice was low, a little husky, as though she had been silent for too long or had screamed inside until she had no voice left. Something hit Anna like a wave. She suddenly knew she could not leave. Not now. "You'll freeze in that dress," she said, pulling off her wax jacket.
"Here, take this."
"At least it's not lace." The girl looked at the offered jacket, then at Anna, long and searching, as if weighing whether trust was still possible. "My name is Marina," she said at last, and took the jacket. Her fingers trembled. Anna told her her own name. They stood in silence while the rain drummed on the tin roof. Then Marina gave a short, bitter laugh. I was supposed to get married today. In this very dress." The groom changed his mind an hour before the ceremony. Said he was in love with someone else. "I couldn't go home. I came here. Thought if I stood on the edge long enough, the pain might ease." Anna felt her heart clench. She knew that exact collapse, when the ground disappears and you're left holding only shards. "I didn't come here by accident either," she said softly. "My girlfriend left 2 years ago. Left a note. 'You love looking at the world too much, but you don't know how to live in it.' Since then, I've only looked." Marina stared at her in surprise, then smiled, warmer this time. "So we both ran from weddings. Yours was long ago, mine never even began." They stayed on the lighthouse until dusk. The rain softened. The sun broke through ragged clouds, turning the wet iron and stone gold and rose. Marina told her she had grown up in this town, that her mother had sewn the dress when she was still in school, to grow into for luck. That the groom had been a decent man, but he had never looked at her the way she had secretly dreamed someone would. Anna told her how, at 15, she had fallen hopelessly in love with her literature teacher and had known ever since that her heart beat to a rhythm the town did not approve of. When night fell, they descended. Marina's shoes were soaked through. Without a second thought, Anna took off her own sneakers and handed them over. "They're bigger, but they're dry." "And you?" "I'm used to walking barefoot through life," Anna said with a crooked grin. They walked the muddy path back toward the lights of town. Marina suddenly stopped. "Can I hug you? Just because. I really need someone to hold me today." Anna stepped in and wrapped her arms around her. Marina buried her face in Anna's shoulder. Anna felt her own heart pounding so hard, she was sure the gulls wheeling above the harbor could hear it. They stood like that until a fishing boat's horn sounded far below. Marina tried to return the jacket. Anna refused.
"Keep it.
It suits you." The next morning Anna went to the little bakery where Marina helped her aunt before dawn. When Marina saw her, she blushed and hid flower-covered hands behind her back. "I thought you'd be gone by now," she whispered once the last customer left. "And I thought this town finally had something worth photographing for myself, not for the paper." They began to meet, carefully, like people afraid to startle a wild creature. Winter walks along the empty beach when the sand was hard and cold underfoot. Coffee in the tiny cafe, where the waitress soon knew Anna took her Americano black and Marina wanted cocoa with cinnamon. Evenings in Anna's small apartment above the darkroom, where the air smelled of fixer and old pine floorboards. Marina was frightened. What if someone sees? What if my mother never understands? Anna answered, "Then we'll hide so beautifully no one will ever guess." Yet she was frightened too, that this fragile happiness might shatter like sea glass. One early spring day, when the sea had turned warm and tourists began drifting into town, they returned to the lighthouse. The same wind, only now it carried the scent of blooming acacias. Marina wore the cream lace dress again, washed, altered, the sleeve shortened. "I don't want it to remind me of that day anymore," she said. "I want it to remind me of you." They climbed to the top. The sun was sinking straight into the water, painting sky and sea molten gold. Anna took a small camera from her backpack. "May I?" Marina nodded. She stood at the railing, wind lifting the hem of her dress, hair dancing. In that instant Anna understood she would never again be content to see the world only through a lens. She lowered the camera. Marina turned. Her eyes shone, wet from wind or from something deeper. Anna stepped close, slowly, afraid the moment might dissolve. She placed her hands on Marina's waist exactly as she had the first day, when she had wrapped her in a borrowed jacket. Marina lifted her hand and touched Anna's cheek. "I love you," she whispered. "I've loved you since the day you gave me your jacket and your shoes and didn't ask for anything back. I just didn't know how to say it." Anna closed her eyes. Then she leaned in and kissed her, slowly, gently, as if it were the first kiss either of them had ever truly meant. Marina kissed her back, arms sliding around Anna's neck, the lace of her dress fluttering like a sail catching the last light. They kissed until the sun vanished, and the first star appeared above the dark water. And the old silent lighthouse, after all its lonely years, finally saw who it had been waiting to watch over.